What if your 20s aren't the defining decade everyone claims, but the decade that defines how well you adapt to change? You're told to chase clarity, have a plan, stick to the timeline. But here's the truth. Most people in their 20s are confused, scared, and quietly comparing themselves to everyone else. You scroll through highlight reels on Instagram thinking, am I behind? Spoiler, you're not. You're human. And today, I'm breaking down what actually matters in your 20s, the habits, the mindset shifts, and the real decisions that shape everything else. This isn't about what your parents or society expect. It's about building a life that makes sense for you, not your resume, not your followers. Before we dive in, I want to know something. Where in the world are you watching this from? Drop your city in the comments. It's always amazing to see how far this community reaches. And while you're at it, hit subscribe if you're here for content that's honest, practical, and built to help you level up. This is your decade to build, not to impress, but to become. So take a breath, shake off the pressure, and let's talk about what actually matters in your 20s. There's this invisible checklist society hands you in your 20s. Graduate by 22, dream job by 23, stable relationship by 25, house by 28, kids by 30. And when life doesn't match that timeline, cue the anxiety. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Most people are faking it. They're winging it behind closed doors. The curated posts, the polished updates, it's all part of a collective illusion that everyone else has it together. They don't, and they never did. The idea that your 20s are for having it all figured out is one of the most damaging myths out there. The people who thrive during this decade aren't those with perfect plans. They're the ones who embrace the uncertainty, experiment boldly, and learn without shame. Talk to anyone in their 30s or 40s about their 20s, and you'll hear the same thing. I wish I hadn't stressed so much. I wish I'd tried more. I wish I'd known that no one really knows what they're doing. That pressure you feel? It's not your fault, but it is your responsibility to release it, because clarity doesn't come from overthinking. It comes from doing. Your 20s aren't a final exam. They're the dress rehearsal. This is the phase where you stumble, tweak, rebuild, and redefine. That off-plan moment you're stressing over? That's the plan. There's power in realizing that uncertainty isn't a flaw. It's the playground where growth actually happens. The people who seem confident aren't always more capable. They're often just more comfortable being unsure. And let's be real, what's more courageous? Pretending to have it all together, or owning your mess and figuring it out as you go? So here's a better checklist. Do something that scares you. Question the expectations you've absorbed. Try, fail, adjust, then do it again. Embrace discomfort. It's not the enemy, it's the gateway. Because the irony? The more you let go of needing to have it figured out, the faster you become the kind of person who does figure things out. By actually living, not just planning. And remember, if this message hits home, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And if you're nodding along, drop a comment. What life timeline myth has stressed you out the most? Let's rewrite the script together. Your 20s are not about finding one perfect version of yourself. They're about discovering the many versions that could exist. This decade is your personal identity laboratory. It's the one time in life when you're independent enough to make bold choices but flexible enough that none of them are final. Here's the key mindset shift. Self-discovery isn't passive. You don't wake up one day magically knowing who you are. It's active, it's messy, it's trial and error at scale. Trying a new hobby, traveling alone, switching careers, ending a relationship, moving cities. These aren't detours. They're data points. Every experience you have teaches you something new about what lights you up or shuts you down. The question isn't, what should I do with my life? That question paralyzes. Ask instead, what can I try next? That's momentum. That's progress. That's how you build clarity. There's a toxic pressure to stick to one path. But the truth? The people with the richest lives, the strongest self-awareness, and the most interesting stories are usually the ones who didn't stick to just one thing. They zigzagged, they tested, they learned, and in the process they found themselves. Your job in your 20s is to build enough self-knowledge to make better choices. Not perfect ones, just truer ones. Every experiment you run helps filter out what isn't you, so you can get closer to what is. And changing your mind? That's not failure. That's evolution. It takes way more courage to walk away from something that no longer fits than to stay just because it's familiar or socially acceptable. You wouldn't commit to a pair of shoes you've never tried on. Why commit your entire life to a path you've never walked? So here's your permission slip. Try stuff. Weird stuff, big stuff, small stuff. Stuff your parents don't understand. Stuff you're afraid to fail at. Because the real failure isn't trying and falling short. It's never trying at all. If you've ever laid awake thinking, is this really it? That thought is not a crisis. It's a clue. Follow it, explore it, chase it. And hey, if you're finding value here, consider subscribing. The journey to knowing yourself starts with curiosity. Let's keep that curiosity alive. You might not have a lot of money in your 20s, but you have something even more powerful: time. And when it comes to wealth building, time beats income every single time. Financial freedom doesn't start with how much you earn. It starts with the habits you build and the mindset you adopt. And those habits? They either become your greatest asset or your biggest liability for the next 40 years. Let's get one thing straight. Managing your money isn't about restriction. It's about intention. It's not, I can't spend this. It's, does this spending actually align with what I value? We're taught to chase status, cars, clothes, tech, but rarely taught how money actually works. Compound interest, for example, isn't just a financial concept. It's time travel. It's a way to send money to your future self that grows along the way. Start investing even a small amount, $50, $100 a month, and over decades, it snowballs. Wait 10 years to start? You'll have to save twice as much just to catch up. And no, you don't need to be a finance expert. You need systems, automatic transfers, budgeting tools, a basic understanding of what grows your money versus what drains it. We spend hours researching the best phone case, but won't spend 30 minutes understanding our retirement account. That's not because we're lazy. It's because financial literacy is often framed as boring or overwhelming. But it doesn't have to be. Think of every dollar as a tiny employee. Some go out and bring back value. Those are investments. Others vanish into the void. Those are impulse purchases. Which team are you building? Your money should reflect your values. That $300 impulse buy might feel exciting now, but how would future you feel if that same money had been invested, multiplied, and gave you the freedom to say no to a job you hate? Freedom isn't found in how much you earn. It's in how much control you have over your time, energy, and choices. Money is the tool. Freedom is the goal. So if you've been avoiding your finances because it feels overwhelming, start small. Track your spending. Build a tiny emergency fund. Open that investment account you've been putting off. Future you will be glad you did. And if this section opened your eyes even a little, hit that like button. Let's build a generation that's not just rich in money but rich in options. In your 20s, not all relationships deserve equal investment. This is the decade where you start learning the difference between proximity and purpose, between people who are just around and people who genuinely build you up. In your teens, relationships are mostly default. Same school, same neighborhood, same routines. But in your 20s, the filter shifts. You begin to ask, who brings value to my life, and who just takes? Here's the truth. The size of your social circle doesn't matter. The energy inside it does. One real, supportive friend is more valuable than a dozen surface-level acquaintances who drain your energy. Think of your time and energy like a bank account. Some people are withdrawals. Others are deposits. Every conversation, every hangout, every interaction, what's the net result? Do you leave feeling energized or exhausted? You don't have to maintain every connection. You don't owe access to people just because you've known them forever. Growth will sometimes mean outgrowing people, and that's not cruelty. That's clarity. Strong relationships don't just happen. They're built. They require intention, reciprocity, and shared growth. And sometimes the most powerful move you can make is choosing to invest in fewer people more deeply. Ask yourself, who celebrates your growth? Who respects your boundaries? Who challenges you with love instead of judgment? Those are the people worth building with. And everyone else? It's okay to let those relationships naturally fade. Not every connection is meant to last a lifetime. Some chapters close so new ones can open. And don't forget, you're also someone else's deposit or withdrawal. Be intentional about the kind of energy you bring into the lives of others. Be the kind of person you'd want in your own circle. Protecting your energy isn't selfish, it's strategic. Your emotional bandwidth is limited, and the way you spend it will shape your confidence, resilience, and overall joy. When it comes to relationships in your 20s, what really matters isn't popularity, it's alignment. Are you growing in the same direction? Are your values compatible? Do you feel safe being your real self? If you've been feeling drained by certain relationships, that's not something to ignore. That's a signal. Listen to it. And if this part resonated with you, drop it in the comments. Let me know. What's one relationship shift you've made recently that improved your energy? Your 20s are where you build two quiet superpowers, courage and consistency. And they matter more than you think. Let's start with courage. Not the kind that's flashy or cinematic, but the daily, quiet courage it takes to speak up, try something new, walk away, or even ask for help. Courage isn't the absence of fear, it's moving forward with fear in your pocket. The moments that will shape you most won't be the ones where you felt safe. They'll be the ones where you did it scared, and did it anyway. That job interview you almost skipped, that boundary you were terrified to set, that one idea you finally shared, they all count. Now combine that courage with health. When you're young, it's easy to take your energy for granted. Your body bounces back, your mind feels sharp, and bad habits don't seem to have consequences, yet. But your 20s are when you're programming your long-term operating system. The way you eat, sleep, move, and manage stress now, that becomes your baseline. It's not about perfection, it's about protecting your ability to show up fully. Mental health especially needs to be part of that conversation. Learn to feel your feelings, set boundaries, get support when you need it. Emotional resilience is just as vital as physical strength. And then there's consistency. The compound effect of tiny daily actions. Those are what quietly build your future. The 10-minute walk, the unread pages, the journal entry, the moment you paused instead of reacted. None of those are big, but they stack. You don't need to overhaul your life. You need to do one small thing over and over again. That's how change sticks. That's how identities form. Your results won't explode overnight, but your identity will shift in the background. You'll see people sprinting toward flashy goals, burning out, then restarting again. You're building slow, steady momentum, and over time, that wins. That lasts. So what actually matters in your 20s? Building a courageous relationship with failure, protecting your physical and mental energy like it's gold, and choosing small, consistent actions that move you toward the kind of life you want, even if progress feels invisible. Because one day, you'll look back and realize, everything you are came from those ordinary, unglamorous moments you showed up for. If this resonates, comment one habit you're committing to this year, big or small. Let's hold each other accountable. You don't need to have it all figured out in your 20s. You need to show up. You need to try. You need to keep going. The truth is, your 20s are messy, loud, lonely, thrilling, confusing, and that's exactly what makes them magical. It's not a flaw. It's the feature. You're not behind. You're not late. You're not broken. You're becoming. Every failed plan, awkward conversation, small win, and quiet decision, it all matters. These aren't wasted years. These are the years that build you. So forget the pressure to perform. Forget the highlight reels. Forget the voice in your head that says you're not enough. You are. And not someday, right now. Right now is the moment you choose. Will I build a life that looks good to others, or one that feels true to me? The habits you form, the risks you take, the people you keep close. These are the bricks of the future you're building today. If this video helped you feel seen, even for a second, drop a comment and tell me which part hit you hardest. I read every single one. And if you want more content like this, subscribe to the channel. This is Zero to Wealth, and we're building more than income here. We're building alignment, purpose, ownership. You ready? Let's go.